At the end of the day, there's something dark happening in America. And it's not just about the right-wing fascism. This is the culmination of 30 years of the growth of partisan media, Fox News, Rush Limbaugh for decades, Sean Hannity on the radio and Fox News, then the digital media, so Steven Crowder, Charlie Kirk, there's plenty of big right-wing channels on YouTube, right-wing podcasters, Tim Pool. This is the culmination of 30 years of extreme partisan media that is now evolved into it's war, game on, tyranny. And they're inciting unstable people to actually believe their bullshit, to actually believe the country is under attack by Biden or by, Antifa or by like transgender people. And they're inciting people like the guy who went to an FBI office in Cincinnati today to shoot up a bunch of people who was killed and who was there on January 6th. And by the way, Colin, go back to the first post because I want to read this first post again because it says it all. This is from Travis. Travis's Twitter. The first post from Ricky Scheifer today, or 2 days ago, excuse me. No, I am proposing war, but get ready to kill the enemy, not mass shootings where leftists go, not lighting buses on fire where transsexuals are in them, not finding people with leftist signs in their yards and beating them up. Violence is not all terrorism. Kill the FBI on sight and ready to take down other active enemies of the people and those who try to prevent you from doing it. So it's all in there. The transsexuals, the left. I'm sure as more information comes and more of this guy's old social media posts, I'm sure there's going to be stuff in there about woke people and Black Lives Matter and Antifa. This is all being fed to these people by loony, gaslighting charlatans. And by the way, I'm not calling to deplatform these people because actually I believe if you deplatform these people, it's going to incite these lunatics even more. But it is time for people to stand up on the left to this fucking insanity. Instead of placating of course, Alex Jones too, I forgot him. Instead of placating these right-wing extremists. Instead of like wink, wink, these people doing like videos and headlines like Marjorie Taylor Greene is right. Are you fucking crazy if you're a leftist? And saying Marjorie Taylor Greene is right, abolish the FBI. Do you actually believe Marjorie Taylor Greene has a principled stance to abolish the FBI? Do you actually believe that? You're just doing it for clicks. You're just doing it to go viral or something. You're trying to tap into the growing right-wing audience online. Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't want to abolish the FBI. She doesn't have any core principle. She's a fucking fascist. Yes, opportunists. Listen, I would have had a ton more viewers. We would have exploded in subscribers if I would have started pivoting to the right. If I would have done hashtag fraud squad 24/7. I would have had a ton of more subscribers, by the way, if years ago I covered Trump 24/7 and I covered Russia 24/7 instead of going on the ground and covering the Flint water crisis. I've been there 18 times. We are at a tipping point. This country is a powder keg, and there's going to be more issues like this. There's going to be more lunatics that posted on 4chan and Truth Social and, Gab or wherever else. They're going to try to shoot up political offices, that are going to try to shoot up the FBI, that are going to try to shoot up malls, concerts, sporting events, whatever. I am so fucking sick of pretend leftists pontificating from their studios on the way politics works and, basically doing running cover for Trump and the right wing and declaring that they're the real leftists, and anyone else who doesn't run cover for the right wing, anyone else that dares to cover the Republicans critically are fake leftists or Democrats. None of these people have traveled and covered the stories that I've covered. None of these people covered the amount of Trump rallies and right-wing rallies that I've covered. None of these people have seen what I've seen. So it's easy to sit in your studio comfortably, some of whom are sitting in their mansions comfortably while calling themselves, the real leftists. I've actually been out there for 7 years and I've been consistent. I cover Democratic Party corruption. There's people that come to this channel when they see that I'm covering the Republicans critically, and then they go away because they're partisans and don't like me covering their beloved Democratic Party critically. I don't really give a shit. I cover them all critically. Democrats, Republicans, third party. If you're corrupt, if you're selling yourself to special interests, if you're selling out the people to your donors, if you're an extremist, if you're playing footsie with right-wing extremists, if you're playing footsie with violent conspiracy movements, I'm going to call you out. We'll cover it critically. And I don't care if it's left. I don't care if it's the Democrats or the Republicans. I don't want to hear about these. I don't want to hear anymore for these leftists. Jimmy Dore's not a leftist. Go to look at his channel. Do you see Jimmy Dore covering with a lot of videos and analysis the mass union movement in this country that's going on right now, the amount of worker strikes that are going on right now, the tenants unions that are forming to fight illegal evictions? Do you see him having on these workers all the time with his massive platform? You see him having on workers that are trying to unionize, workers on strike. Me and Colin went to Iowa in October. We covered the John Deere strikes. We went to Iowa and Illinois and covered several of the picket lines. We asked them, who have you reached out to? They said they reached out to Jimmy Dore and others. Never heard back. Workers on strike. But they're the leftists? Give me a fucking break. If you truly, forget terms, forget being a leftist or whatever, forget all political terms. If you consider yourself a good person, if you care about your fellow man and woman, if you consider yourself a humanitarian, if you believe we're in this together, if you believe in collectivism, okay? If you care about the direction of the country, if you want to see more peace, if you want to actually pressure our government to actually represent us rather than their donors, we do live in the United Corporations of America. If you care about these things, you cannot be silent and turn a blind eye to fascism. And I don't use that word lightly. And by the way, there's all different types of fascism. Fascism isn't only like sending innocent people to their deaths at camps. There's corporate fascism, which I covered at Standing Rock. I was on the ground in North Dakota for 7 months on and off in 2016 and 2017. I covered, under Obama, by the way, and the Democrats, I covered the Department of Justice, the DOJ, the FBI, U.S. Marshals working with a fossil fuel company to terrorize indigenous water protectors and their white allies, to infiltrate the camp at Osheti-Sakoan, to infiltrate with moles the camp, to surveil them. The Homeland Security, the FBI were working with Tiger Swan, basically like a Blackwater type private mercenary company, to terrorize the camp, to go after the top leading activists there. That's fascism. When the state is working with corporations to protect capital, that's fascism. So fascism isn't only like Trump and the right wing, but we cannot ignore violent conspiracy movements that push myths and lies of stolen elections. We cannot ignore currently in this country, all over the country, there are Trump loyalists, state to state, and the Washington Post and others have reported on this. There are Trump loyalists, state to state, that are literally trying to remove election officials who committed the crime of certifying the election for Joe Biden. Secretaries of state, local county officials that are election officials, they're trying to remove them and put in place, insert Trump loyalists, so that in 2024, whether it's Trump, DeSantis, or name your Republican, so that they could actually steal the election, not certify the will of the people. And we've already done this once. The Supreme Court stole it for George W. Bush. Al Gore bowed out after fighting for like 2 months. So we've already seen an election stolen once. And we have six batshit Republicans on the Supreme Court now. What makes you think they're not going to do it again? They are trying to replace election officials that went against Trump, that actually stood up for actual democracy, which I don't think we really have a democracy in this country, but they stood up for whatever's left of the so-called democracy. I say we don't have a democracy because the popular vote winner does not win. We have a bullshit electoral college. I say we don't have a democracy because in a representative democracy, the politicians are supposed to represent the popular will of the people. A 2014 Princeton study showed we don't have a democracy. We have an oligarchy. 50% of this was in 2014. The Princeton study showed 50% of the time, the will of the wealthy elite and donors are enacted into legislation. 50% of the time, less than 5%, the majority will of the people is enacted into legislation. You don't call that a democracy. You call that an oligarchy and a rigged, corrupt system. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.